So the last session we created up to accounting calendar. We created done with this. Now in today's session we'll discuss few points on chart of accounts. We know how to create the chart of accounts, right? In previous sessions we completed, but now as a part of multi-hour configuration, again we are going to do that. Okay, we are going to do the same, but we'll be adding few more points to understand very detailed level. Chart of accounts. So when you talk about the chart of accounts, so in the system we know how to create it. But the same, okay, to create in the system, you have to involve in the discussions with the client. So out of the entire implementation, the finalization of chart of account is very important task. The first point is finalization of multi-org, structure. Just identifying like how they are doing the business, what is the process they are following, how many entities they have, and where they are operating, how that has to be structured, like how many groups, primary ledgers they required, how many legal entities, and operating units, inventory, how many they require. Okay, all we have to finalize based on the client business process. Okay, already we discussed on what base we can finalize how many number of BGs or OUs, other things required. So after finalization of multi-org structure, the very important task is finalization of chart of accounts. These are primarily very key tasks, key just concepts which we have to focus on more and more. Okay. So when you talk about this chart of accounts, on what base will be finalized? So before coming to Oracle, client definitely will be using some system, right? Definitely client will be using some system. In that system they'll be capturing all the transactions, and as a part of transaction they'll be capturing certain information. So currently what information they are tracking as a part of transaction, that's what we have to understand. And what is the reason, what purpose they are capturing, how that going to be useful in their organization for internal or external reporting requirement. The simple point I'm telling, the chart of accounts always should support for internal reporting and external reporting. Okay, internal and external reporting purpose, this should support as a best. Okay, so when we are doing the implementation, what we do is we'll sit with the client. Okay, sit with the client and we'll be having the detailed discussion. We'll be asking them, tell me as a part of transaction, it can be payables transaction or receivables transaction, and any transaction doesn't matter, as a part of transaction which key information you are capturing, which very generic information you are capturing. We have to ask these questions, where they are capturing their current system, which system they are using before coming to Oracle EBS, Oracle applications. They'll be using some system, right? That we have to see and we have to understand. Then after that we'll be asking, okay, here you are capturing so and so information, the same you want to capture in our Oracle application. Simply we call as EBS. Instead of calling as Oracle or Oracle applications and all, we call as EBS. EBS stands for e-business suite, or say e-business suite. Okay, EBS. Always we'll be referring our system as a EBS. Stands for e-business suite. Okay, e-business suite. E stands for electronic. Okay, means internet. Okay, internet business suite means within this, the group of applications where we have all, we can call as EBS. In EBS only we have applications like suite, which will be covered all the modules. Okay, if any client is going to implement our Oracle EBS, what we have to understand? We have to understand their reporting requirements primarily. Okay, to understand their reporting requirement, first we have to study and we have to understand about their current system, current applications, what they are using. From that we'll take good information to understand how they are running the business, what information they are capturing as a part of transaction. Then anyway, we'll have a discussion with the client also. We'll sit and have a discussion, and we'll be telling them, okay, just the same segments, the same elements we can capture. For that we have a concept called as chart of accounts in EBS. See, the terminology and all we have to introduce to the client. Okay, the current system, whatever they are using, they may not call it as chart of accounts. But we have to tell them, we have to understand, okay, you are just already capturing company information, every transaction. You are capturing a department information, and you are capturing account information, you are capturing so and so information. In the same way, if you want to capture in Oracle EBS, what we have to do is all these, what exactly you want to capture for each and every transaction, all those elements tracking and all, you can do through chart of accounts. In chart of accounts only you can maintain companies, departments, accounts, allocation, whatever the information you want to track through chart of account, that is possible. That's how we have to tell them. Just directly you should not say, okay, we have to create chart of accounts and we can, what is chart of accounts and all, they cannot understand. Always we have to just start from their end. Whatever currently they are using, we have to talk about it. The same we have to convert into our application. There we have to give the name as the same. Whatever you are doing in the current system, whatever you are capturing, the same information can be managed in our Oracle EBS with the concept called as chart of account. Now, when you talk about chart of account, just we have to finalize the chart of account, how many segments they require and all. Okay, that will be having detailed discussion on what base will be deciding. So what level they want to control, or what level they want to balance the transactions, and what level they want to just capture the cost. Okay, and again, what are the other information, what are the other information they want to capture as a part of transaction for reporting purpose. All these points you have to consider. Normally if you look at some companies, the chart of accounts will be like this. So they'll be having segment called as company. Okay, company, and they'll have a segment called as department. Instead of department, see, they can have it as a department. Instead of department, they can call it cost center also. Directly they can call segment as a cost center. Cost center segment, nothing but department only, because each department will be normal in the business point of view, they'll treat as a cost centers, where the department will be incurring some cost. And account, okay, account they will be having. And again, if they are dealing with a different LOBs, line of businesses, where into different businesses, in that case they can have LOB as a separate segment. So the reason could be like, along with the company, they want to know the profitability LOB wise, line of business wise, what are the different businesses they are doing. Accordingly they can do it. And in the same way, if some companies are dealing with the projects, they can have segment called as project segment also. Whatever the cost they are incurring, the cost or any transaction is related to project, simply they'll be selecting this transaction belongs to so and so project. Simply they'll be giving that information so that that can be tracked into reports. If organizations more into projects, like say the organization, they are doing financial activities, along with that the organization is dealing with the projects. If organization is dealing with the project, generally you can call as that project, the organization is more into project driven organization also. In that case, instead of using the segment called as project segment in their chart of account, they can go with the separate modules. From Oracle we have a separate applications called as PA, project accounting. There you can capture the cost which is specific to the project. Okay, and again, not only specific to the project, within the project you can have multiple tasks, subtask, and there is a separate concept and all. So whatever the work you are doing for the respective project, each and everything you can track detail level. And even when you are doing the billing, you'll be doing some work and you'll be getting the payment from your customers, right? You'll be delivering some work or service, you'll be providing some service, you have to get from payment from customers. So for customers you have to send the invoice. You are working for some client and you have to send the invoice. That completely, the complete information will be related to project specific expense cost you want to capture, as well as a project specific billing revenue you want to identify, how much you are spending, how much you are getting. There are many other activities also, now we don't need to focus on that. If that is the environment, if any company has where they are dealing more into projects and all, in that case, instead of having the segment called as project in the chart of account, they can go and implement the modules called as PA, project accounting. If company is doing very small size of projects, rarely if they are going to do the projects, in that case also they want to capture the each and every transaction, which transaction belongs to projects, or again which belongs to which projects, very basic level. In that case, instead of going with the project accounting applications, they can use the segment called as project segment. Okay, the project segment. And this is how, just there are many other segments also, that all depends on the business. Okay, this all depend on business. Some cases you will see here, account will be having one segment, they can have a sub account also. They can have one more segment called as sub account. So something like service line, service type. And some clients may ask us, okay, we want to capture in each and every we need one more segment called as customer. They may ask us, we need one more segment called as supplier, because based on their expectations they can ask us. That means wherever customer is applicable, customer they want to capture, and wherever supplier is applicable, wherever the transaction related to supplier transaction, they want to capture the supplier. So some clients may ask you like saying that, okay, we want to have customer and supplier as a segments in our chart of account. In that case, we should be there to suggest them, okay, to explain how things will work. Normally when you are working on our Oracle application, you no need to maintain suppliers and customer as a part of chart of accounts as a segment. The reason, when you are working on payables, when you are working on the payables, every transaction you can capture, you definitely should select the supplier. So based on the supplier, what are the reports you want to generate, you can report. It's not mandatory you should have a segment in the chart of accounts. We have to suggest in that way, because if you see in some different systems, other soft accounting systems, there definitely they'll be having some element as a supplier and a customer, some other information. But since our system is more capable in terms of delivering the best solutions and very filtration and security other aspects, you no need to mention segment called as supplier or customer in the chart of accounts. So some customers, clients may ask you to include the customer. In that case, we have to explain what are the transaction customer where you require when you are dealing with the receivables finance point of, right? When you are working on the finance receivables application, then definitely in every transaction you will be having the customer specification. If you want to generate the reports, yes, you will be able to generate. Why they are going with all these? For reporting, tracking purpose only, right? What they are doing and the results they have to see, and they have to analyze, and they have to take the best decision, and they have to present the reports internally or externally. In that case, we can suggest them, don't need any customer and supplier as a separate segments in chart of account. That can be handled in the respective applications. So whatever the chart of account will design, that should be just very common segments which can be used most of the applications which will be used. So this is how just we'll come up with the different segments. You can have a company, cost center, or else you can call as a department, or the naming convention can be division also sometimes. Okay, division also. Sometimes here we are taking as a company. In some implementation, you can see that as a segment name as a legal entity. Legal entities. For example, they have only two legal entities. Okay, simple point I'm telling. They have two legal entities. That means two registration they have. With the two registration, they are doing the business in two locations only. Simple example. In that case, even if you take operating units as a two, or legal entities as two, both are same, right? So now here, instead of taking that each operating it as one company, simply they'll go with the legal entity only. Legal entity 1, legal entity 2. Legal entity 1 for operating it 1, legal entity 2 for operating 2. Instead of taking the name as company, or else sometimes you can see the instead of taking as operating this company, you may see as a business unit. Means that is unit. The or else operational area means where they are operating the business, or else outlet, or you may see the segment name as entity. Entity means it's a company, right? It can be legal entity, or it can be like your branch name, or anything. Okay, so this is how the naming conventions will be finding when we are working. Okay, you can see as a some entity, or else you can see as a company, or else you can see as a business unit. Okay, or else there some clients may prefer as a the name should be branch. Name should be branch. In this case, it can be cost center or department or division, depending on. Okay, your account means, yes, always it should be as a account. And instead of account, what we can do is we can name it as a natural account also. You can see when you are working in some clients already which are implemented, when you are going through that implementation, you'll see instead of giving account as a name as account, they can give the name as natural account. Or else instead of giving natural account, they can give the name as real accounts. Just real account is a term generally which we use in the businesses and most of the accounting packages and all. Okay, the business, this is a term also they can use. All are same. You can call it as natural account, or you can call it as GL account, or just you can call as account. All are same. So you should not get confused what this is all about. It's all about you have to understand what are the possible names and all. This is we are taking as LOB. The client is into different businesses. So each business and they have a requirement. See, they have one entity. Let's say they have one entity. Under that entity, they have different line of businesses. So we have one entity. Say I'll take simple example. We have one entity. Entity name is ABC. So ABC entity means one registration they have. One registration they have, that is entity name ABC. They are doing the businesses like 1, 2, 3. These three businesses they are doing. In this case, how we can handle, if they want to prepare and if they want to balance each and every transaction, if they want to set more security, okay, if they want to set more security and everything at entity level, then company they will take, and under company they will maintain entity called as ABC. And because the reports and all they want to generate only entity level, the reporting and all they require at entity level. In that case, they can take as a company as ABC, and they will be assigning balance and segment flexible qualifier, so that level only each and every transaction will get balanced. But along with that, say they have a requirement. So they have a requirement where they want to know the profitability LOB wise also. Means how many LOBs we have? 3. But if you take these 3 LOBs, this level, you will be able to find out LOB wise profitability and all. Okay, you can generate the reports this level. But company you are taking as ABC. In that case, only that level you can generate the reports. This level you cannot generate the reports. If you want to generate company level as well as LOB level, in that case, have one segment called as LOB and keep these 3 under LOB, and whenever you record in the transaction, the company will be ABC. Again within ABC, that business, the transaction belongs to which LOB you will be selecting. And to capture, if you want to capture the profitability and all this LOB level, we have to assign secondary tracking segment flexible qualifier. Okay, that will be discussing further later. Now it's not required for us, just for information I'm giving. Okay, normally just wherever you are assigned the balance and segment flexible qualifier, that level you can track and you can just generate the reports. Apart from that, if any other level you want to capture, okay, the profitability and all, if you want to identify, so that level you can assign the secondary tracking flexible qualifier. Secondary tracking flexible qualifier will work almost same as balancing, but not that level of control and all. That will discuss the variant difference and all. Clear, right? The same way, like say if some company need if they are into kind of projects and all, if they don't implement project accounting application, and if they are doing the less amount of projects, rarely if they are doing, not very as a regular business, sometimes there may be need of doing the projects. So in that case, we can suggest the client to have a segment called as projects. Okay, this is how we can suggest, and this is how you can see a number of. Anyway, I'll be showing some the real-time implementation related chart of accounts. I'll just I don't open the instance and all. I'll be showing the screenshot. Then you can see, you can feel the reality. Okay, I'll be showing 3-4 chart of accounts which are currently are using by some clients. Okay, that I'll show you. Then you will get more idea. This is what simple points we have to understand. And one more point is, once chart of account is finalized, once client will start using this chart of accounts, which is a part of primary ledger, we should not go and do the changes. That means now how many segments we are finalizing? If we take this example, 5 segments. Okay, 5 segments. So in future, say client need one more segment. Client want to capture city. One more segment as a city. In future, they expanded their business, and city wise also they want to capture because of some reporting requirements and all. In that case, so you should not add. System will allow you to add additional segments when you are once you start using the chart of accounts. It will allow you, because you can create up to 30. It will allow you, but there will be many issues will come across if you do like that. That is the reason always the best suggestion to the client from our side is, we'll suggest the client to go with some buffer segments. Buffer segments means future segments. We'll suggest them, okay, we are okay with the 5 segments as of now, as per current business process which you are following. In future, there could be some scope where they may acquire some other companies, or else they may extend their business, right? And with different reasons, there could be some requirement to have some additional segments. Whenever they get requirement, it's not that much easy where they can go and add the new segments. That will take you into many issues. That is the reason what we have to do is when we are finalizing the chart of accounts, I mean to say when you are doing the implementation time itself, we have to suggest to the client apart from that what they need. Okay, what they need, we have to suggest some additional segments called as a future 1 and future 2. These two we call as future segments. Buffer segment means extra, additional. So this will be ready to use anytime. In future, say like this is how we finalize our chart of accounts. In future, client want to use one segment. The client need one segment called as city. In that case, what I'll do is already segment we are created, right? Just change the name. Change the name and go to value set. I mean the respective segment, add all the cities. And later after some time client need one more segment called as product, one more segment called as product, add it. Again in future client need one more, no scope. Okay, no scope. But in the market we have some companies developed some tools. Companies developed some tools, not from Oracle. From Oracle there is no solution if you want to add some new segment and all, but these consulting companies who are doing these implementations, those companies developed some tools. With the help of those tools, without getting disturbed your existing transactions and all, you can add additional segment if required, but that will work as a separate small size of the project, simple project that they'll be doing as a separate engagement. But normally what Oracle recommends is don't add all those things. If at all you need in future, now itself you forecast. Okay, with the forecast, just you should be able to add those. That is the reason generally when you do the implementation, always the best practice is you recommend to have minimum 2 future segments. In future if they need, they can change the name and accordingly they can maintain the values and they can use in their business process. Okay, so this is how we have to do it. And along with this, okay, along with this, when you are finalizing the chart of accounts, what we have to do is, so we have to finalize the size. When you are creating the value sets, you are setting maximum size, right? The size also, that always the size and all will be finalizing based on how many values they are going to have under each and every segment. So for example, company you may go with say for example 4. Just for information I'm sharing, it can be 4, or if some clients have only 4 5 companies, in that case they may choose only 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, that depends. Okay, anyway, just after having some discussion with the client and all, we'll be deciding on what is the maximum size for respective segment values. Maybe for the cost center 2, account maybe 6, because they'll be having huge number of accounts, and LOB maybe 2 or 3, that depends. So all should be finalized with a discussion. Now simply we are creating here chart of accounts, but when you are working with the client, we'll have a number of discussions. Okay, we'll have a discussion with the account team, finance team, with the client. We'll try to understand what is your reporting requirement, what information you want to capture. This is what we are recommending. You tell me what is your expectation. Is it okay or something else you want to include? They may come up with the saying that so and so thing we require. We'll be suggesting this you don't need to have as a chart of account, that can be handled with the standard functionality only. So this is how just will be, there will be several level of discussions, not just one time in one day. It's time taking process. It's and the process of implementation will be having good amount of time to come up with all the discussions. And the project may be something size is 4, and future 1 and 2, we don't know which is going to be which segment is going to be in the place of future 1 and future 2 in future, right?
Yes.
So always the best thing is we can try to give some good number. I'll say 4. Okay, 4, and again we'll be deciding on, okay, we set all those things. Whenever we are creating the transaction for each segment, we have to select the values, right? Okay, we have to select the values on a recording. We already have seen how to create the journal. In that case we select company, department, account we selected. But when you're working, what we can do is we can go with the defaults. Okay, sorry. Okay, default values means when users are going to enter the transaction, So say a simple example, project. All the time they may not select the project. All transaction may not belongs to project. In that case, so we given 4 means the number project number will be in the 4 digits. But all the time client may not use no project. Client may not use the project. In that case, what you can do is a 4. You can create one dummy value that you can set as default value. Whenever you open that, when you click on that LOB of account, it will display company, department, account, location, LOB, and everything blank. But it will take for project default value as a 0000. You don't need to enter. The reality, you are not going to select any project. By default, system will be taking 0000. Okay, if at all you require, you want to select the project, you can select. Otherwise, just you can accept the same 0000. This also will be discussing how to set the defaults. Okay, we'll see once you create the primary layer, this chart of accounts. There itself will be discussing how to set the default values for respective segment. Okay, so we have to come up with this default values also, for which segment we have to set as default, or else in some cases all the time we'll be selecting the same value. Otherwise, most of the time you don't select any value. In that case, some value should be filled in that value, right? Since that is a mandatory field. So in that case, how to set the defaults, that also will be discussing. And apart from this, the companies you can list out, cost centers or departments you can list out, LOB projects, everything you can list out. For future 1 and future 2 also, since we given 4, we have to give the dummy value as a zeros, 4 zeros temporarily. Once you get finalized what name you want to go with that segment, you can change it and you can add the values accordingly. Okay, this also we'll see. Okay, apart from this, we have a different accounts, right? 5 type of accounts. When you are working in the company, okay, we have to create the account groups. Okay, we have to create the account groups. So for example, you may start with, say, what are the accounts we have? Assets, liabilities, expense, revenue, ownership. This we have. So we should not create all the accounts very random base. But if you create random base to generate the reports in different cases, it will be more complex. Okay, in the further reason, say if you have a option of, if you are choosing 6, okay, it supports in lakhs, right? 6 means I may finalize for assets, all will start with 1 lakh. 1 lakh series I'll follow for assets. Liabilities I'll follow 2 lakhs. Expense I'll follow 3 lakhs. Revenue I'll follow 4 lakhs. Ownership I'll follow 5 lakhs. Done. Again, when you talk about assets, we'll be having current assets and fixed assets, right? And again, say for example, current assets I may go with the series of 1 lakh 10,000. Yeah, anything, it can be anything, just that can be finalized. And this is maybe for fixed assets. For current assets, I may go with the series called as, okay, I'll just take like this. Yeah. Sure. Current assets, maybe the series is 1 lakh 10,000. And fixed assets, yeah, I'll change it. Fixed assets, so 1 lakh 20,000. So this is how just will be finalizing. Now if I'm going to create an account called as cash account, what I'll do? I'll be taking into
1 lakh
in which series? 1 lakh 10 cash. I'll be taking series is this, but account wise I'll say 1 lakh 10,000. I may take 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. This is how I may go ahead with that. Or else if I less also, I can go with 100, 200, 300. And if I'm going to create something else, say some inventory 20. If I'm going to have another value as a, so for example, advance. Advance, what is the advance will give to the suppliers? That is asset for us, right? So that is 1,10,000 30. Same way, if you are going to have a like fixed assets, okay, accordingly you'll be setting the sequence and all. I'll show you for what the reality how it would be like. I'll be showing the chart of accounts which are used for the clients. Okay, I'll be showing that. But just here, before we get into that for your basic understanding, I'm just explaining these points. I'll show you really what are used for few clients. Same way, this is how just you can how to group the account. So now if I want to generate any reports which will display all the current asset value, simply I'll be selecting the range from 10 to 30. That's it. I'll select the range 1,10,010 to 1,10,030. With the range all talks about current assets only. Easily I can get the just information how much current assets we have. That's all. Okay. So this is how we have to maintain the groups, and accordingly we have to maintain. The one point is the number of segments, how many required. Already we discussed the point. Always Oracle recommends to go with the less number of segments. The possibility we have up to 30, but always Oracle recommends to go with the less number of segments. You go with many segments and all, there will be performance related issues. Okay, so so that is the reason just less segments. Other one is we have to decide on size for each and every segment, value set size, and for which segment, so we have to set the default values, which segment it should be blank. That we'll see when we once we get into the system, we'll see that. And apart from that, when you talk about very specifically here, uh, accounts, okay, accounts like we have to create the account groups for 5 type of accounts. We'll create 5 type of groups. Within that you can go with the classification, current, fixed, etc., depending on that. Okay, so here liabilities, when you say long term liability or short term liability, that depends how you are operating your business, how you are dealing. Accordingly you can create the account values, and you can maintain within the same group, so that when you are generating some reports or when you're doing some reporting related process, it will help you a lot. So there won't be an issue. Otherwise, if you are going to create like we created, right, in the when you create chart of accounts, I added retained earnings account as the first, second is cash, third is expense. Okay, that track is just for our understanding, to make you to understand how to create the segment values. But reality, this is how we'll be doing. Okay, this is what I'll be doing. I'll be showing anyway. We'll talk about real-time classes and all. At the time, I'll be showing that reality, like how those are implemented. I'll be showing some real-time chart of accounts. Then it will be easy for you. Okay, done. So these are the key points, just simple points we have to understand when you talk about chart of accounts. Okay. So when we are creating the chart of accounts, we will be preparing some documents also. That also I'll be showing. Okay. So here we have to talk about something else also that will be covering. For now, just to start with that, our multi-org specific this chart of account definition, this information is enough. Okay. So these are the few points we have to understand. Now just we'll go on to create the chart of accounts. So for us now it's not required for us. Say LOB is not required. Let's go with this chart of with these segments. We'll go and create the chart of accounts with this. How many segments? 6 segments. Okay. We're going to create the chart of accounts 6 segments. So go to general ledger responsibility. Click on any one of the sub menu. Click on function. because it is giving error because we didn't assign any primary ledger to this response. That is the reason it's not opening the form. Okay, no issues. Anyway, we are going to create it. So first what we have to already we created accounting calendar. Now we'll go and create the chart of accounts. What is the navigation? Setup, financials, flex field, key, segment. You should remember. You should remember since that is completed. Setup, financial, flex field, key, segments. So you click on find. So in which application you can create? General ledger. Within general ledger by using which key flex field? Accounting key flex field. The display you can see as accounting flex field, but this is the one which we'll be using. Select, say OK. And here we can create that we know very well. Already we created one time. This is the second time with the detailed keys. Okay, click on new. Okay, click on new. Now you can just yeah, name we discussed as a coffee. Since it's the code always go with uppercase and use underscore with underscore without giving any space. Coffee accounting flex field or accounting structure you can write, or organization structure you can write, or else chart of accounts, anything you can write. The best naming convention you can go in this way. Call free company name accounting flex field. And here you have to remove same name system will be prompting. Okay, it will be copying in the title, remove it, write in the very normal. Just you can say call free accounting flex field. The same name you can copy into description. I'll just write it as for India. Don't go with a view and all that we'll be discussing. Okay, that's a database related concept. What happens is whatever you create here that will be stored in the table. So once the data is available in the tables, you can go and you can query the table and you can see. Okay, you can query and you can see. The same way, instead of querying and seeing the data directly from the table, you can view the data from view. You can see the data from view. Simple point. If you want to see this room, what is the best option? What is the best option? Open the door and enter and see. If not, huh? Through window you can see. Through window you can see. When you are seeing from window, can you see everything? No. When you enter into room, the same way table is equal to room entry. If you open the table, you can see everything. Okay, but if you see through view, within the table total data you may not see. That view may not allow. It will allow you to see the specific data. So that is a view concept. Is equal to some window. Okay. Instead of directly entering and seeing the data, instead of directly querying and seeing the data which is there in the table, whatever the data you have in the table, the data you can see through view. Okay, instead of entering into room, you can just see the what we have in the room inside through window. So similar concept. Okay, this is some database concept. We'll have just one session on this database related, how to write SQL queries and all we'll be discussing as a part of real-time classes. So at that time I'll be covering. Now you just ignore it. Don't provide anything. If you are really interested, if you want to know something and all, don't test it. But if you want to enter something, enter without any underscore. Oh, sorry, without any space. Okay. You may enter like that. Now there won't be an issue. If you don't give an underscore and all, when you compile this structure, you'll get error. Warning. No need to touch this. Ignore it. You don't need to create any. Automatically system will take care of. If you give some name, it will create with that name. Otherwise, automatically system will create the standard view. Okay, that you don't need to touch. Okay, done. Okay, then you have to save it. Right? Save it. Then go to segments. So give the segment names. So company segment 1. We'll add the value sets later. Segment 2 cost center. The above one you can copy, shift F5 and change the number to 2. That's it. It will accept. since the values existed. 3, account. Copy 3. Fourth one, project. 4. Fifth one, future one. Segment number 5. 6, future 2. Segment number 6. That's it. Now what we have to? We have to tell me. We have to create the value sets, right? We have to create the value sets. Okay, we'll create it. Now another point. So we'll create the value set for company, department, account, and all. How many segments are? Definitely we have to create the value sets. We'll create the value sets and we'll assign the values to particular segment or say directly to value set. That's how we'll do it. Okay, that is the process we'll follow. Now we are going to work on multi-org environment. Okay, if it is real time and all the accounts, all the companies, cost centers, departments, everything will be maintained. But when we are working on multi-org environment, we need many accounts. Many accounts. We can add all those accounts. We have other process instead of entering all the accounts through manual process. We have a concept called as data loader. There is a separate tool. Okay, through the tool you can load all the data into our instance. To our chart of accounts form, you can load it. All the accounts you can maintain in the data loader sheets that we can load. That also I'll be covering as a part of real-time process and all. Okay, when you're working, how you will be doing that, I'll be covering. But here only the option now for us is manual entry. How to just how to enter the any segment values, right? Same process will be followed. Instead of entering all the accounts which are required, what we'll do is, which instance this is? No, it's not fresh instance. Vision instance. In a vision instance, we'll be having some sample data, right? Sample data, right? So in the same, that means we'll be having some sample chart of accounts also, right? So here we have one sample chart of accounts from Oracle. I'll click on find. That is the first one. Operations, accounting, flex. Okay, this is for operations purpose. Vision operations we discussed, right? The operations purpose, they for demonstration and that purpose as a test environment, they given this chart of accounts. If you open this chart of accounts segments, these are the segments they use. See here how they used: company, department, account, sub account, and product. This is how they just taken some accounts segments per sample, and they have a value set called as operations company, operations department, operations account, operations sub account, operations product. Okay, these segments within that same value sets, they might have entered values also. Definitely values also will be there. So in this operations account, we'll be having many accounts which really required for us also. So what we'll do is, instead of we create our value set for our account, we'll use this value set, operations account value set. Within this we'll be having a number of accounts, not sub accounts. Accounts will be having all the accounts. If you want to see which accounts we have in this operations account value set, you can see from here. From where already we created, from where we create values with this navigation, right? Application is general ledger, title is accounting. So structure for operations, what is our structure name? What is created by Oracle? Here we have a segment called as account. Click on find. All accounts are available in this. Okay, instead of we'll start creating all the accounts, we'll use it. Okay, we'll use this one. When you're working like in real time, just how will be loading, I'll be explaining that, I'll be showing. Okay, but for now, instead of, we need many accounts to set up GL, to set up payables, receivables, purchasing. Okay, fixed asset, to when we are doing setups for all these applications, we need many accounts. Instead of entering all the accounts, we can use this value set to our chart of account. For our within our chart of accounts, we have a segment called account, right? To that account segment, we'll assign operations account value set. That's what okay, important. So okay, in our chart of accounts, we have segment called as account. to that segment, account segment, we will assign operations account value set, which is a part of this operations accounting flex field structure. See here, if you go here, how to find, this is how we are taking. Otherwise, directly you can access to value set also. Select here. What is the value set we created earlier? Tell me. HCL, right? Say HCL, give the name. Say company. Click on find what we created. You can see in this. But we selected company segment, under that we created, right? But the company segment we assigned company related value set. That is the reason those are stored in that one. The same way, so in which value set we have all the account values? See, all the same. Now we'll use this value set. This value set will assign to our company, our account segment, right? You are clear on that, right? So instead of we will create our own, we'll use this one so that our job will become easy. We don't need to create all those accounts. Even in this also, they followed the same logic. What are the account grouping and all? They taken the maximum size as 4. Based on that, they just gone with it. They taken 1000 series, and later 2000 series they taken. After that, they taken 3000 series, then 4000 series, 4000 series for revenue. Okay, this is again 5000 series. That's it. Okay, this is how they're taken. So instead of creating the value set for account, okay, we'll use the value set from operations. The rest of all value sets will be creating, we'll be adding our own values. Clear, right? Let's go and do it. Just open that chart of account structure, whatever we created. What is the name? This is the one. Just you can click on find, it will be filtered. Okay, click on segments. These are segments. Now we have to create the value sets. So click on value set. You know this process, same process. Okay, click on value set. Okay, now just you can say here name as all free company. See here list type. Earlier we discussed how to create basic level. Now I'm going to add few more points. Again we'll be visiting the same value set form to work on the security rule and all. At that time I'll be adding few more points. Simple point. Okay, you know how to create. Now I'm going to add few more points for better understanding. List type. Okay, list type. So through this value set, what are the values we are going to create? How system has to get display. Okay, so list of values. Generally, this is one we'll be using as list of values. Long list means it will give the big list where you can select all those values. So pop list means it will pop up and we'll be able to select. Just generally, this is the option we'll be using all the time. It will provide the list of values where you can go and select it. Security and all, this is separate feature. Security rules and all. And when we are going to create the values within that, we'll be creating the segment values for the company, right? When you are creating the format type, whatever the values you are entering, what format you require. Which format? Character. We want to enter character only. We don't want to enter the dates as a segment values. And the date and time, no, we don't require. The numbers. Numbers in the sense it's all about only it will accept numbers. Okay, now we are entering the numbers only, but we are selecting character. If you select character, it will accept numbers and characters. But if you select number, only number, you are restricting. And it is all about standard date and standard date and standard date time. And this is just time. So generally we will be using character, which will support. So company I can enter 1000. Instead of entering 1000, I can say A, B, C, D also. But generally we don't do like that. So what is your preference? How you want to control when you are creating the segment values that you can set accordingly. The maximum size already we discussed, and numbers only. Here also we have option. I selected character, but I want to restrict to enter the numbers, only numbers. If I enable, system will allow only numbers to take into that. Another one is uppercase. Okay, uppercase in the sense for the, say I'll be selecting here, I'll be giving the number, company number 1000. For the 1000 company, I have to write the description, right? The description, if you want to make only in uppercase, you can enable that, so that system will allow you to record everything. The whatever the segment values you are writing, all will be in the uppercase, lowercase, and all you cannot follow. And here already we discussed this, right? So already we discussed, say for example, I'll give something. So I given 4. Here if you want to restrict, 4 means up to 9,999. But my requirement is whatever the values will enter, that should be between 3,000 and 4,000 only. I can set. So no user, we cannot create any company value other than this range. If I'm creating any account company value, that should be between this 3,000 4,000. I cannot create company with 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 and all. Okay. And here this we have to focus on this more and all independent, because the company is not going to depend on any other segment. You earlier you have seen in the operations value set, right? Operations chart of accounts, you have company and account and sub account. Sub account always will depend on account. When you are creating the value set for sub account, in that case you can select dependent as a validation type. Okay, none means if you select none, you no need to maintain any segment values. You don't need to maintain. When you're recording the transaction, system will open the field called as company. You can enter any company name. Dynamic value. Okay, dynamic value will be just understanding. And other option tables and all will just discuss. That's now not required. It will become just will get into that application. I'll be telling. Again, just we have a table. Table means you are not going to enter whatever stored in the database, that will be fetching and all. We'll discuss on that, but this is just simple points you try to understand, which generally will be used. Okay, independent normally will be using if there is some segment which will be depending on other segment. For that segment, when you are creating the value set, you will be selecting dependent. None means you don't want to maintain any predefined values. This concept, none concept, will be seeing when you are working on HRMS, when you are getting the job and position. In that case, just in this environment, that's how they set. You can see that. Okay, we'll discuss. For now, these are the points to understand. Okay, so maximum size I'm just giving 4, and I'll say write justified 0, fill number son. So save it, and let's create one more. Sorry. Okay, validation type. Okay, this we cannot use now. Save by changing the name. I will create with a call. Okay, so maximum size I'm giving 4. I justify, done. Save it. I'll create one more value set for cost center. All free cost center for enable. Then so you know very well how to create it. This again you don't need to take it. Same process. And place cursor here. Click on new. And the third one is account. Okay, account. Okay, we plan to use the existed, right? Let's ignore it and go with the project. Yeah, okay, project. And just here you can do 4. Enable this. Save it. Place the cursor and use future one. Maximum size I'm giving 4 only. It depends, like when you have a discussion, how many values they require, what is the range, maximum size they require, accordingly fix it. Just for testing, I'm taking for everything 4 only. We created one more. Future 2. Maximum size take as 4. Enable and save it. Okay, see these validation types and all I'll explain again. Okay, we will be just coming to this security type. Okay, security type, when you are setting the security rule, at that time I'll explain you these points. So other validation types like these and all, and I'll show you how to create the dependent value set also. Dependent, there will be some specification where this field will be enabled, and you have to specify that also. I'll be explaining. If not this time, dependent will be learning from fixed assets. And fixed assets definitely will be creating the value set type with the validation type as dependent. Anyway, when we are again whenever we come to this window to work on this security related, that basically part of GL. When you are working on general ledger, I'll be covering these points. What all are those? How this can be used when you are working. Okay, I'll explain that. Okay, but now not required. Done. Now what we have to do? We know the process. We have to assign value set to respective segments. Call free company, call free cost center. Your account is operations account. Take it. All the accounts will be available. Will be part of this. And project, call free projects. And here future one, future two. Call free future one, call free future two. Done. Now we have to assign the qualifiers. Okay, flex field qualifiers. For company, we'll assign balancing. So assign balancing. This is just enable and save. And one more point, when you are assigning these qualifiers, you have to be very sure about it. So one time task, later you can remove also, but what happens is by mistake, okay, we'll complete and we'll discuss. Account, natural account, save it. Now by mistake, if I assign this natural account segment flex field qualifier to company, what will happen? Three additional segment. It has to be very clear. You have to explain, give the point in detail level. If you assign the natural account segment flex field qualifier by mistake to company, what happens? System will be adding the relevant properties. Whatever the properties, the functionality the qualifier has, it will be applied on company. After that, you may realize, oh, I did mistake. I should assign natural account segment flex field qualifier to account, but I assigned to company or by mistake to department. If you realize, yes, you can go on to remove it. But once you assign, there will be some action in the database. What is the action? It will assign additional 3 segment qualifiers when you are creating the, tell me, when you are creating segment values, you can see those additional segment qualifiers. So that cannot be reversed. You can remove that as a qualifier you assign. By mistake you assign, nobody just seen that, you just changed it. But system seen already, just it won't allow you. It will allow you to change it. It will allow you to reassign. It will allow you to remove. But when you assign, it will apply that properties to the segment that will be permanent. Now if you are trying to enter the values for company, allow budgeting, allow posting, account type, third party control account and reconcile. These 5 qualifiers will be finding, which is very wrong, right? So that is the reason we have to be very clear on that, which qualifier we are assigning to which segment. The right qualifier should be assigned to right segment. Okay, these points are very important. Clear, right? It's very important. Okay, done. So that's all about we have to understand about qualifiers. And apart from that, we have other qualifiers also. By the time we complete the course, we'll come across all those things, and we'll be after completing this R12. And before R12, we have 11i also, 11i version. Still, some clients are using. Oracle is not providing support for them if they have some issues and all. But that is a statement from Oracle. They are not supporting. But since they are very big clients, like say GE, Emerson. Okay, there are many big clients who are using this Oracle application. They implemented this Oracle application with the previous version 11 at the long back. So this R12 you can see in the market in more full-fledged way from around say 2007 onwards, but not much stabilized. From 2008, the product is stabilized. Many clients started using from 2008. Okay, that means it's around 8 years. From last 8 years. Before 8 years, also companies are using this, right? Before 8 years back, the product we have in the market as 11i. Okay, I stands for internet. 11i. 11i version all clients are using. They are big clients. To do the implementation only, it takes years and years of time for them, because they will be doing the implementation for many countries for their complex business process, etc. So that reason it took too much time. They invested a lot. They are big clients for Oracle. For that reason, only for specific clients, Oracle is providing some support. If they need some help when they are using that application, they'll be getting some issues. As a consultant we can resolve, but issue is related to some programming. Okay, so kind of coding, which is source code we call. The source code all will be with Oracle only. Okay, the source code we cannot access. If you have some technical issues related to coding, application related functionality, you are trying to open something like journal form, it's not opening. If you do all the setups, it should open. You did all the setups, but it's not working. What we have to do? You have to contact the Oracle only. They can help you. They can fix that issue. Okay, they can fix it. So for that reason, we have to get support from Oracle. And nowadays, Oracle is not providing the support to 11i just clients who are using. Already, they just years back only they announced that we are not going to provide support from next year or something. That's how they just given the information. With that reason, clients almost all the clients are upgraded. They moved from 11a to R12. That process we call as upgrade. We'll upgrade, right? In our phones there'll be some notification will come, some latest updates are available. If you want to update, if you click, it will get updated. But here it's not that much simple. Okay, that's separate, as a separate project we have to do. Okay, that will be discussing as a part of real-time classes. But still many clients are not upgraded because they are very big clients. It's not easy for them to upgrade also. That is still they are running on 11i. So that is the reason, even since the clients are very big and they are getting good revenue from those clients, Oracle is getting good revenue from that clients, they are still supporting only very selected clients who are very big clients, right? So that is the reason, just always is a good thing, good practice. Just we can go through that 11i also. I'll take you through 11i. Maybe hardly we don't need many classes. Hardly I'll be taking 2 classes, 3-4 hours classes are enough for us. In one class I will be explaining. Okay, one class I'll be explaining 11i and R12 differences, the current version what we are learning, between this and the older version of 11i, what are the differences we have. And I'll be taking 2 more classes in the system. I'll just show you in 11i environment. In the 11i instance we'll connect to that. There I'll be showing. Here you know how to create the primary ledger, right? Same way there we don't have a concept called as primary ledger. There we call as setup books. How to create setup books? Hardly we need 2 sessions, maybe 3 to 4 hours. Then you'll be getting good information on that. So you'll be able to, if you go for interview and all. Okay, okay, fine. If you go for interview, you'll be able to. You can present in your CV. You have knowledge on 11a and R12. You will be able to answer to their questions also. Okay, that is a that is a one point. So at the time when I'm just explaining, here there are some qualifiers which are not there in 11a, which are there in the R12 only. Those I'll be covering. At the time I'll be talking about other qualifiers also, which we are not going to cover in these sessions. Okay, but other point I want to just give you here. We have cost center, right? Cost center will be assigning to cost center segment. Okay, this is basically it's required for expenses management, expense purpose, as well as fixed assets. When you're working on FA, I'll be explaining that point also. For now, you can assign cost center segment flexible qualifier to cost center segment, or else you can have the segment as a department also, or else a division. Whatever the name you have, you assign the cost center segment flexible qualifier to that segment. Just select cost center segment and go to flexible qualifiers, assign cost center segment flexible qualifier, then say save. Okay, that's all. We assigned all the mandatory qualifiers and all. Normally if there is some question, what are the mandatory qualifiers when you create the chart of accounts? Balancing and natural accounts. Is there any other segment also, a qualifier also? Yes, you can say mandatory these two, but if we are going to implement fixed assets, cost center also you can use it as a mandatory. If you are using, then only. Otherwise you may use a module, may not use a module application, but if you are creating chart of accounts, minimum those two are the qualifier which you have to use, balancing and natural accounts. Okay, fine, done. So this is how we have to create. And later, after creating the segment values, I will be explaining how to set the default values and all those stuff. Okay, I'll be just giving how to set the default values. Done, right? So now we have to freeze it. Before freezing, I'll give you some point here. See, we have a segments operator. We have a concept called as the option called as segment separate. That means when you are creating code combination, you'll take company code, then it will put dot, right? Again department dot. Okay, that's how it will. That means it is separating the segment values in the format of code combination, because here by default selected segments separated as a the dot. You can select something else. You may select hyphen dash. That means company hyphen department value hyphen. That is not proper presentation. Generally always will use this only, or else you can use the pipe symbol, 1000 pipe symbol. Okay, I mean company pipe symbol, department pipe symbol, account. Another one we have custom. Custom means you can give any symbol to separate it. I can put something like dollar, but when you see that you don't like it, right? That is not the proper format of keeping. Always you'll be finding dollar sound. Okay, so that is the reason. Just most of the clients, wherever just you find, just you have to suggest generally this one, or else clients also will be opting for that one. Okay, clear, right? Anyway, already we discussed about allow dynamic inserts. Okay, so this anyway you can enable now. You know the purpose. When we are doing the first time and all, we didn't enable reason to understand as a process. Now you can enable, you know the purpose. And you know, like we'll be doing the freeze flex field definition. You can freeze it. And apart from that, we have a cross validation segment. This is a separate feature which is related to general ledger application. We are working on general ledger, we'll see this. And other one is freeze roll up groups. This is also separate concept in GL, separate feature. This we don't need to focus on that. When we are working on GL, we'll be covering these two features also. And other one is enable. This is chart of accounts we are creating. If you disable it, this chart of accounts won't be available anywhere. You can see here, but cannot be used anywhere. So I'll disable it. I'll disable when I'm going. If I try to create the chart of, if I try to create the primary ledger, if you disable currency, can you find in the chart of primary ledger creation time? No. In the same way, you are creating the chart of account which is required. If you disable it, you cannot find it. For testing, you don't disable others' chart of accounts. Okay, please. So these are the points we have to understand. Then just freeze it, and it will be asking us to confirm. Yes, say yes, we know. Once we submit once we freeze and compile, it will be updating everything. So once there's a freeze mode, you cannot do any changes. If you want to do any changes, you have to unfreeze, then only you can do some changes. Okay, just say okay, already this we discussed. Just click on compile. The request will be submitted to concurrent manager. So this is the view system will be storing. Our chart of account will be stored in GL code combination KFV, key flex field view. V means view. If you give some name, instead of finding our chart of accounts from this view, you can find from given view. But anyway, if you want to see through view, you have to query from database on. That's the difference. If you give some name, that information you can view from that view, given view, or else this is a standard view what Oracle is creating, providing. Okay, done. Okay. Done. So I'm not sure this database is connected or not. 1 second. So how to view the data also I'll show you. But anyway, we'll have some discussions later. We have to. This is the what I'm talking about, data loader. Through this we can load the data also. That we'll see later. Do you have like code in this? Seems to no. It's not installed. From next session, what I'll do is just I'll keep this code ready in this system. And sometimes when you do some activity, once you store the data in the database, I'll be querying and showing. Okay, we'll enter some transaction, it will go and store in the database, which table that will be stored, how to view the data, that also will be running the queries. We'll get ready by tomorrow. We'll be using. Okay, done. Okay, completed. What is the next task?
Segment values.
We have to create the segment values. What is the navigation?
Setup,
Setup, financials, flex fields, Key values. Set up financial flex field key values. How to enter? This is the one option. Other option is directly you can go to value set. You stop playing with all these data inputs and all. Just simply you can select values. Otherwise, instead of going with this, I explained to make you to understand what process we have to follow. We have shortcuts also. Now directly you can give the structure name here. You can see two structures. There is a reason that is separate future. When you are working on GL, we'll discuss. Now we are starting with a multi-R. Once multi-R is ready, we'll be working on subledger applications first. Okay, real time also when company is using also process will follow same. First we learn subledger application. After completing subledger, we'll just come to GL to look after all the features. Okay, you can see the same name. Two you can see, but you can select any one of them. Not an issue. Why we have to, and what is the future, what is the use of that future, that will be discussing detail level when you are working on GL. Now you don't try to find out why these two are coming from, where these are coming, not required for us. Okay, and I can click on find. Here I'll get access to all company we have, department, cost center we have, account we have. See, already in account all accounts we have, right? Reason for account segment we assigned operations account values. So all you can see. So this is one way. Other way is directly you can select the value set. So select this value set. Give the value set name. Call free company, right? Call free company. Okay. Here we have to create the companies. Okay, since since we are talking about this call free, and I'll talk about this. This is a site which we taken for reference. Okay, this is basically you can find out some training institutes information. This is a site related to some trainings. Okay, so Oracle training. I'll say our course will be typing here. Oracle financials training. So you need training in Hyderabad. Okay, you'll be getting this. Is just I'm trying to explain the site purpose and all. Okay, so you'll be getting information like this. Okay, in this case, so just why I'm telling the reason also is there. When you talk about client, when you speak with the client and all, okay, when you speak with the client, we have to understand about their business. We have to understand about the business and what they are taking as a part of. I mean, what are the different classifications they have for companies and all. Accordingly, we have to create the companies. Now, since we are taking this name, okay, for our testing purpose and all, here what business they are into, what business this website, the company will be doing. If you take example here, they are into just kind of some trainings. Okay, when you talk about training, this means in this website you can find out all the training institutes. Okay, maybe in Hyderabad or Bangalore or in any city across the India, any location you can search for whatever the training you are looking for, you can find that information. So accordingly, I am going to take the name. I'll be taking the one of the company name as here. I'll give the value as 1,000, and I'll say all free training services. Yeah, institutes related to service. For that, how much expense they are incurring. Okay, or else I'll say search engine services. Just we'll add few more values because we have a relevant concept to test. I'll add few more values. I'll say 2,000. Call free, say IT services. Okay, these are existed or not doesn't matter, but for us we need few companies. That is the reason we are selecting. And I'm taking 3,000, and here I'll say BPO or some other product development. Okay, this is how just you can create few values in that company. For each value we have to set the qualifiers, right? So go here, then select, place the cursor in the, we know very well, that's the reason we don't discuss detail level. Go and click on this, it will open. Place cursor here, already those classes are over, right? So simply place cursor here, say okay, place cursor, say okay, place cursor, say okay, done. We created values for company segment. Done. Now close it. So system is submitting this to content manager. Again you can select value set. Instead of doing this kind of process, better we'll go with this. So from there only you can add the values for all the segments, right? So I'll say call free. Click on find. Use down arrow, the cost center. I'll say 1000. So I'll try with more than 1000. Let's see what message it get. Okay, error message. Yeah, maximum should be, length should be 4 only. That's how it will can be controlled. Now I'll try with this value, say A100 value. Yes, it will accept. The reason we selected format type as character. If you select number, only number, the flexibility will be having. But generally we don't go with this kind of alphanumeric and all. Normally it would be number only. But sometimes if requires some easy identification purpose, the client may use. That is the reason always will suggest and will define with the character. When you are getting the value set, there will be selecting format type as character. That's the, I'll say here finance. Okay, finance department. And qualifiers also same type. Yes, cursor here. 2000. And marketing. 3000. So what will take HR. Okay, so here say 4000 sales. Set qualifiers and save it. Okay, just move to next segment. Account, already we have all the account values and all. So we discussed about this, and one more point to just here again, when we are dealing with that, which values, which account should act as a parent accounts, which account should act as child accounts. That is also another point which generally will focus on that when you are designing the chart of, and that will be covering when you are doing the classes. When you are working on GL, we have separate concept called as summary accounts and some other concept. At that time, definitely will be touching those points. Then it will be clear for us. Okay, so that I didn't include in this discussion. That is okay. Then now just you can move to another segment called as project. Say Oracle, just for information, Oracle R12. Think like this. This call free is doing the projects. They are doing the implementation project. They may do like Oracle R12 projects, or else they may write the direct client name also. But here, a very generic way, I am writing these names. Another value 2000 Oracle Fusion projects. This is very high level I am writing. Detail level they can write the client name also, project name or project code, something else they can write. Uh, Hyperion projects. Okay, so this is how just they can list out whatever the projects they have. Okay, they'll be listing out all the projects. Done. Now qualifiers, yes. Have to set the qualifiers. Say okay. Okay. So okay, done. Now we can move to next segment. We don't know which is this segment is going to be what, right? So for that you can set default values. We can maximum size 4. We can enter zeros, and here I'll say not applicable. But it's mandatory how to set the qualifiers. Set allow budgeting, allow posting as yes only, not an issue. So even dummy value, done. Save it. Okay. Later what we'll do, we'll change the name, segment name, and we'll be adding the relevant segment values. That's how we'll be doing. Okay. Move to next segment, future 2. 0, it will fetch automatically. It will take, right? It will fill. And here you can give. Here also not applicable. So, okay. Yeah, please.
Previous we don't assign the projects in future 1, future 2. Qualifiers are not assigning to the segment.
We didn't assign, not required in all the cases.
But we can assign. We are giving the qualifiers.
No, you didn't understand that means. See what we discussed, for any segment values by default system will provide these two segment qualifiers. For any segment you may have 10 segments. You don't need to assign any qualifiers to get these two segments. I think you missed out those sessions. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, we discussed, right? Just point is for any segment related segment values. For any segment, if you are going to create the segment value by default, system will provide two segment qualifiers. Those are allow budgeting, allow posting. Only for account segment, based on the natural account segment flex field qualifier, along with the two which are default for any segment values, it will be adding three additional. That is what we discussed. You can add one more segment, but these two will be there. If there is something called a segment, if you are creating the values for that segment, these two will come. That's it. These are default. Okay, this is what. Okay, clear, right? So, and one more point here. Sometimes when you are recording the transactions, the transaction may not belongs to projects, right? May not belongs to project, but the field will be mandatory. In that case, we have to fill some value, right? In that case, to fill that value, we'll be using some dummy value. I'll put zeros and not applicable. Or I can, instead of writing not applicable, I may write as a default. That is a default value which we may use, not applicable. This is how we'll be just managed. There will be certain cases where you should not select the real value of the project. In that case, you can manage with some dummy value. Since that will become mandatory, you can fill with that. There won't be an issue. The same way for other segments also, you one minimum one dummy you can add here. Then this also you can add. That might be existed here. Okay, no. Here you can say not applicable. Any case, if it is required, then we can use it. That's all. You can set with any qualifier. Anyway, it's not real one. The same way account or for other segments also. Cost of, yes. Sorry. Account also, because we don't use it. There will be some cases will come across. I'll tell you. Okay, just there will be need of filling something. In that case, we have to fill something. If you use the real account, that is wrong, right? That's the reason you have to fill, but not real. Just you can use dummy wherever required. The same way here, depart cost center also you can keep on dummy value. Okay, dummy value. The same way, nothing wrong if you keep on dummy value for company also. I'm not saying it's a mandatory how to do that. Some clients will prefer to have some dummy value based on their transaction. Okay, so if you look at 4 or 5 clients, definitely you can see 2-3 clients will be preferring to have for every segment minimum one dummy value, so that can be used accordingly. Okay, done. So we done with this. Close it. Clear, right? Now chart of account is ready. Okay, now I go. Okay, fine. Chart of account is ready. Now what we do is, once chart of account is ready, for which segments you want to set some default values that you can go and set. Okay, we have these companies and all. So a simple example, you have 3 companies, but most of the time you'll be recording the transaction for company 1000 only, or department, specific department. In that case, we can go and set some default values. So when we are working in real time, we'll have a discussion with the client. Client will be suggesting, client will be asking us for which segments they need default values. Now our target is understanding how to set default values for which segments and all that when we are working will come to know. Okay, I'll show you how to set default values for any segment. When you are recording the transaction, our intention is it has to get defaulted. So generally tell me based on this, for which segments you think some value should get defaulted instead of entering every time by user. Project they may not, in every transaction may not related to project. Definitely we can suggest to have some default. If any project they want to select, they can overwrite, they can change the default and they can select the relevant project value, project name. Another,
Cost.
just see and think and tell me.
Future.
Future one and future two always, right? No value we are going to enter always, that for future purpose we are creating, so always you have to use default till you change the segment name into actual real name, right? So this two also. For other also, like for company department also, if they need some default and all, we can set it up, but account all the time will be changing definitely based on the event transaction which we do, right? So now let's try to understand. Okay, anyway, for our practice purpose, anyway, every time, most of the time we'll be using throughout this learning. So company 1000 only, company 1000 and cost center fixed one and all. When you are working real time, the relevant one they'll be selecting. How to control, how to allow the access to only company 1000, only company 2000, that will be discussing. That is a part of GL related future that we'll discuss. For now, we'll go on to see how to set the default values. Okay, let's go and see how to set the default values. If you want to set default values, you should remember which values we have under that segment. Reason, when you are setting the default values, you cannot get that particular segment related existing values in LOV. Dynamically you have to enter. Fine. So set default values for the segments. Set default values for segments. Go to chart of accounts. Go to chart of accounts. Navigation is setups, financial flexibility segments. Okay. Here, find your chart of accounts. Click on find. All free. Click on segments. Fine. So here we want to do some changes, right? We want to set some default. Can you set directly? Why? We can set it up, right? Why we cannot set? Sorry? Structure is freezed. You cannot do that. If you want to do some changes to the structure, you should unfreeze it, right? So unfreeze it. Say, okay, now you can enter into the structure. Then now see the fields are open. Now my requirement is, whenever I'm recording the transaction, by default system has to take 1000. If it all required like to enter the transaction 2000, I'll be doing that. Okay, but now here for our practice and understanding, you always will be using the company as a 1000 only. So that is the reason we'll set 1000 as a default value for company. So if you want to set for company segment the value as a 1000 default all the time, select the segment and click on open. Take the points. Select segment. Select segment. Click on open. If you click on open, what system will do is, system will open this segment properties window. Which window it will open? Segment property. Which segment property window? Company segment properties window. Within that, this segment related controls will be there. Okay. Click on open. Select segment. For which segment you want to set some default values? Select segment, then click on open. This is the one. Okay, see, this is the one, just the same name, right? This is what we given. This is a column name, right? Segment number, right? All we have. So value set also you can see here as it is getting displayed. Here we have one checkbox. What is that? Required. By default it will select as required. Required means this segment is required in our chart of account as mandatory. If you uncheck the checkbox, it will become optional. It will be there as a part of our chart of accounts, but it will be optional. For optional segments, you may not enter the data, right? But never generally we don't use this kind of case where we keep as something optional. Whatever really required, those will be using, and all will be selected as required. By default, it will take required. If at all, if you come across some case, okay, in that case, the client is saying that this should be optional. In that case, you suggest them instead of going with optional, default value. That is the best practice. Okay, so that's how it should work. So required means the field will become mandatory. The segment value field will become mandatory when you are recording the transaction. Now, what is our requirement?
Default
Other points also we'll discuss. See here, display size. Okay, display size. Display size means already we given the maximum size,
maximum size.
and here description size. Description size means we are writing the company name in the description, right? That system will allow up to max 50 characters. If you have a case where you have to write long name, system directly it won't accept. Reason, by default it will take 50 only. If you want to increase, you have to come here and you have to say 100. Then you can write very long name if required. But generally, very long names we don't recommend. Generally, they'll be using the short names and all. These are the simple points you have to understand. And if you want to set some default value for a company, here we have a field called as default type. Okay, here default value just you can select as a constant, fixed value. Okay, constant. Here you can enter which value should get defaulted. Say 1000. But see, you don't find LOV. We have a company values, right? But you don't find from that. Just enter directly 1000. That's it. Just always we want to fix some value whenever you open to record any transaction. Instead of selecting company, call center and all, we want to get some values. If the transaction is related to same, okay, or else change it. Otherwise, every time you have to select for values for all the segments, right? So that's how you can do it. Just save it. Done. The same way, say for example, I want to set for cost center also. Select and click on. It will open the cost center segment related properties window. Here I'll select constant value. The constant value here is 1000. I'll be using. Okay. And account I don't want to set because every time we'll be using the different accounts. Not recommended to set, or nobody will ask us to do that. Project. Click on open. Here I want to set default value as a default value as zeros, because all the time we may not select the project, because every transaction may not belongs to project. So set as a 0000. If the transaction belongs to project, then change from 0000 to some specific project number. Then save it. Okay. Close it. And future one, click on open. It will open the segment properties window. And here constant, so zeros, right? Here we have only zeros, right? Same you can do for future 2 also. Same process. Done. You have to make sure that what are the default value you are giving that is existed under that segment. That should be part of a value set. The relevant segment value set that should be. Otherwise, it will fail, right? So that is just you select here. You cannot take from LOV. Only the thing is you have to take the number as it is. That's all.
In future, if you want to remove the default value,
Yeah, just come here and do that. That's it. Simple. So save it. Save it. Okay, that's how we can do it. Okay. So if any segment you want to disable, you can. By default enabled. If you want to disable, you can disable it. and if you want to disable the display of the segment, you can do that, but generally that is not right practice which we have to do, and all that generally we should not recommend all those until unless there is strong requirement from the client. Okay, so this is how we'll create the chart of accounts, and those are the considerations. We'll be having number of segments, we'll be discussing, and there will be several rounds of discussion with the client, then those will get finalized. And when we talk about accounts, we have to follow the account grouping and all. Okay, so and here we have to set which defaults and the maximum size whatever they require as per the values which they'll be maintaining under respective segment. Okay, done. So now again you can freeze it. Yeah, you can submit. Even if you try to close also, it will submit for compilation. It will compile only. Done. Now already we discussed, when you are working in the fresh environment, fresh instance, real time, no currency will you can find as a enable. Whatever the currency you are going to implement, or whatever the currencies you require. Normally when you are working real time, what happens is the client will be having some functional currency. Apart from that, the client will be dealing in foreign currency also. They'll be purchasing or selling. Okay, they'll be having some transaction related to purchases or sales with the different countries also. In that case, the client will be asking them to provide all their foreign currencies transaction. You will be doing the foreign currency transaction, which currencies? They'll give the list. These are our, this is my functional currency, these are all our foreign currency. All will go on to enable. You know how to enable the currency, right? What is the navigation? Setup, setup, currencies, define. Okay, this is the navigation. You should remember all the navigations. Setup, currencies, define. Here we'll go on to which currency you want to enable. All are predefined, seeded. I'll say Oracle delivered. Okay, you don't need to create any currency. Don't try to create any currency. If you want to create, it will allow. I'll say ABC INR. This belongs to which country?
India.
No doubt, it's not belongs to any country. ABC INR we don't have in India, right? We have INR only because it's the code, that is a fixed code we have, unique identification. So that is the reason there should be INR. If you try with INR, it's already existed. Oracle is delivered. So you don't need to create any currencies, remember. Okay. So only the thing is you have to enable. So query. Yeah, F11, or else click on find, select currency, then scroll little right. Since this is a vision instance for practice we are using and all for training, so it's already enabled. Otherwise by default it will be disabled. Just enable and save it. This is the process. Okay, done. We are ready with the calendar, currency, and chart of accounts. Any accounting method is there in the system only, Oracle delivered. Okay, the same will be using. Okay, if at all you want to do some changes to the Oracle given subledger accounting method, how to do it also we'll be discussing that. Once we complete subledgers, we'll talk about it. Or else when you are working on subledgers, we'll see that point. Okay, done. Now task is say create primary ledger. Okay, we have to create the primary ledger. That's what we here we have as a part of this sequence of setups, right? So we done with that. We enabled the currency, right? Now we created chart of accounts also we created. Now we are going to create primary ledger. We'll go and create the primary ledger. Navigation is setup, financials, accounting setup manager, accounting setups. Okay, click on create accounting setup. Click on this create accounting setup. As per process, system is asking create legal entity, then create primary ledger. How many registrations you have create, then you can create the primary ledger. That is the reason they given that step also, create legal entity before we create the primary ledger. That's how they given, but let's follow this process. We'll create the primary ledger and then we'll create the legal entity. We'll do that. Otherwise you can create the legal entity, then you can create primary ledger, then you can assign. Any process will be fine. Okay, but let's go in this way. So I'm going to skip this legal entity creation. For that I'll click on next. Okay, click on next. Here you can give the primary ledger name. Call free India primary ledger. Here select chart of accounts, whatever you design. Call free. Okay, here you will find one chart of account. There when you are creating the values, you can find duplication, copy, right? That is a separate function. We'll discuss about it, but here you will be finding only one. So accounting calendar
Call free
starts with a call free. Will fetch currency INR. Subledger accounting method name is
standard.
standard accrual, where owner is Oracle. We can create our own also, but generally not required. When we have to create, if you are going to create up to what level, what points we have to consider, that everything will discuss and will do it. Okay. So now we have to select always standard accrual Oracle. Okay. Select it. But if you are using some budget accruals, for that we have separate one that we'll discuss when you are doing that. Okay, done. Now click on next. It will ask us for confirmation. Okay, it is giving some confirmation. This is what we selected as part of our primary ledger. If everything is fine, you can say finish. It's giving the confirmation, and it is asking some details. It is saying some, giving some information saying that. So our chart of account is primary ledger is created, and if you want to, by using this primary ledger, if you want to create the transactions, you have to set up accounting options or accounting information. Nothing but primarily retained earnings account. Once you set it up, then only you will be able to create the transactions by using this primary ledger. Before that, we have to create legal entity and you have to assign. You have to complete the primary ledger. Then only you can do this, right? So that's what you can go ahead and you can set the accounting options, or else you can return to accounting setup. From here also we can navigate and we can do it, right? From here you can search for call free, click on update and you can do that. Okay, so from here you can go and do all those things. I'm not going to set up that, just let's open, click on update, click on next. So here see defaulting, we set defaults, right? System is defaulted. For everything we given some default value. That is the advantage. You don't need to enter now. Just enter your account. Returned earnings. As per this operations 3310. Okay. Then say create. If same combination existed, if you click on search, it will come. But the similar code combination we never created. Just click on create. The code combination will be created, and you can select and say select, that will be selected. Say next finish. You know this process, right? Already we did. Our job is very easy when you are entering the code combination because we set defaults. Okay, but don't set defaults for account also for your practice. Okay, okay, should leave it and you can use that one. Okay, in tomorrow's session, what we'll do? We'll create the legal entity. We'll assign to legal entity primary ledger, balance and segment values to legal entity. Finally, we'll complete the definition of primary ledger. Then it will be ready to use. Once primary ledger is ready, what we'll do? Primary ledger we have to assign to all response. This is what. Okay, so we created primary ledger, done. Now we have to create legal entity. So here we didn't mention all the points not required. Those are internally, I mean, as a part of that definition. Next steps we will be doing. We'll create legal entity, then we'll assign the primary ledger to all responsibilities. Okay, then we'll be proceeding from there. Any questions on today's session? You can ask me. We'll discuss. Otherwise, we'll just see in tomorrow. Okay, fine. We'll continue from here in tomorrow's session. Okay. And that's all for today. Okay. See you tomorrow.